Welcome to Books, Tea and Biscuits with me, Jo,
and me, Kim.
Today we're going to be reviewing, I'm going to be reviewing Disclaimer and Second Life. Disclaimer is by Renee Knight and Second Life is S.J. Watson. She's a best-selling, or he's a best-selling author, she or he, of Before I Go to Sleep, and this is the Sunday Times bestseller.
Amazing.
Sorry about this, we're at 9 again. And what are you going to be reviewing? Because you've got three quite thin ones, haven't you?
Yeah, because last time I mentioned that I was doing Paper Girls and The Day of the Triffids, and if I had enough time I'd do another book, so I have actually read another book, and this is one that everyone's going to know about. So I've got Paper Girls, which is a comic book by Brian K. Vaughn, Cliff Chang, Matt Wilson and Jared K. Fletcher. As you can see, it's quite thin, but it's really good, so we'll explain it in the review. I've got The Day of the Triffids by John Wyndham. Now, I just want to correct myself, because in the last video I said that this was a 1972 edition, but it's actually the 1951 edition, so it was written in 1951, and this is a 1951 paperback edition by Penguin Random House. And I was telling Jo, if it was in 1951 and I wanted this book, it would have only cost 40p, which in today's money is about £12, 40 something. So yeah, 40p for this book in 1951. And then the third book, and the one that I didn't mention but I have read, is Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck. I first read this when I was 14, had to do it for GCSE English. I read it again at university, and I've just kept reading it, and to the point where I gave my sister my hard copy version. It was a really thin hard copy, and she ruined it, so I made her buy me a new one, and she got me this one. So yeah, as you can see, I've drew on it.
That's not like you.
I had to do it, analyse it for uni,
yeah,
so this is the edition I used for uni. So we'll be doing that. So first Jo's going to review hers, and we're just going to go back and forth, so it's not all Jo and all me. We're going to do one each, okay? But I'll do The Day of the Triffids and Of Mice and Men together.
And of course, we've got our tea.
Our tea.
So I'll have a drink.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh,
nice. Right, the first book I'm doing is Disclaimer. This is a real good thriller, actually. It's about a wife and a mother who has a horrific secret. You find out that when she was younger, she had a bit of a drug problem with her boyfriend. She had a drug problem. And sadly, even though they'd been clean for a while, he dies. And this is like years before. Now she's grown up, she's married, she's got a kid of her own. And she's also having to deal with a book that comes out. Now this book has her written all over it. She never wrote the book. The book comes to her via somebody, and she finds it in her home. And she's reading this book and she's recognising the description of her, and everything that goes on in this book is what happened to her when she was younger. And unfortunately, this person also gives it her son. Now, she has a very, not a very good relationship with her son. He's closer to his dad than her, and she's just there, she's just his mum. And she starts having difficulty with her husband. The sad point is that her husband believes everything that's written, and it's from there that things start.
But you can't tell us any more than that, because
I can't, because I would ruin this. But this is really, really good. It is a true psychological thriller, and I'll just give you a few things from Val McDermid. Says, plunges us into our worst nightmare. Somebody knows our darkest secret and they're sharing it. And the synopsis bit is, when an intriguing novel appears on Catherine's bedside table, she curls up and begins to read. But as she turns the pages, she is horrified to realise she is a key character, a main player. This story will reveal her darkest secret, a secret she thought no one else knew, but somebody knows. New York Times, outstandingly clever and twisty. Lee Child, exactly what a great psychological thriller should be. Evening Standard, a really clever twist. And Heat, an enthralling thriller. And the Daily Mail says fiendishly clever. And that tells you everything.
That's a book I gave you, isn't it?
It is,
yeah.
One of them.
I had it on my bookshelf for ages and I never picked it up, so I've never read that, but I gave it to Jo.
You need to read this. You do need to read
We can do that later.
Not yet, though. You can read this later in the year, yeah. But this is a definite 5 out of 5. Okay. If I could give it more, I would. And it really is a flaming good psychological thriller. I read this in one day.
Is it a page turner then?
Oh God.
Yeah.
Is it?
I'll have to read it then.
Is it? It starts off quite mundane really, but even that mundane bit makes you, you sort of think, oh, what's happening here? So it is very, very good book.
Okay, so my first review is going to be on Paper Girls. I'll do this one first because this isn't usually a genre of book that I read. This is the first ever comic book that I've read. As you can see, it's a full comic book. There are loads of volumes, so this, when you get to the end, it says to be continued, so the story hasn't ended yet. So I don't want to give too much away in regards to what happens, but it's technically about a group of 4 12-year-old paper girls, so that they deliver newspapers, they're on bicycles, and they uncover this secret, and they have to get, they're plunged in this other world of, things going on and trying to work out what's happening. And along the way, obviously, there's tribulations and, there's all this devastation and things happen. And then it's gone and you've got to pick up the next volume to find out what's happening. And so I went into this, obviously, with the expectation of, I'll read it because it's been recommended, but I don't know if I like it. But I actually really like this, and I read this in 2 days. I didn't even need a bookmark for it because I knew where to pick, because usually, because I'll just borrow this a sec, I gave this to Jo, that I have a collection of bookmarks and I always have a bookmark in my book, because if I lend anybody a book, I always say to them, please don't fold over my corners, I hate it. So I've always got a collection of bookshelf, and I have a collection of bookmarks. And depending on the mood I'm in and the genre of book I'm reading, will depend on what style of bookmark I use. But for this one, it's that thin and I read it that quick that I didn't even need to use a bookmark. And I say read, just looking at pictures really. So if that's my level of reading, everybody can read it. But yeah, I really, really liked it. It's intriguing. You will need to pick up the next volumes if you want to read this, because I know I will need to be. I've got this for about £3.50. Again, I'm the whole person who's trying to stop consumerism and things like that. So I picked this up from an app called Vinted. Somebody was selling it, and I'd heard somebody on YouTube mention it, and I really wanted to read it. And then I saw somebody selling a copy of this. So I bought it for £3.50 when the sale price, it's in dollars actually, $9.99. I don't know if it's US dollars or Canadian dollars, but so that works out to about how much? About £8, £7 or £8. So I will be looking at scouring charity shops. I know my mum works in a charity shop. I'll be scouring charity shops and seeing if I can find any more volumes of this, and also things that me and Jo have discussed of books that we need to reread because of something that happened, but we'll explain that like in a couple of videos time. But yes, this one I really, really liked it. I'm just going to quickly read the synopsis. It is only short. It says from Brian K. Vaughn, the #1 New York Times best-selling writer of the Saga. So Saga is another comic book series in a completely different world. And Cliff Chang, legendary artist of Wonder Woman, comes the first volume of an all-new ongoing adventure. In the early hours after Halloween of 1988, 4 12-year-old newspaper delivery girls uncovered the most important story of all time. Suburban drama and supernatural mysteries collide in this smash hit series about nostalgia, first jobs, and the last days of childhood. Now, I believe there's a series that was on Netflix either this year or last year. This has been turned into a television series, I think. because I know that Tad reads books and things, has read this, and I love Tad, he's amazing. He recommended this, and he was reading it and reviewing it, and ever since he's reviewed it, I've wanted to read it. So yeah, my thoughts are that so far, this is a 5 out of 5. I have heard that the other volumes are better, but I don't know how you can get better than 5 out of 5 and give it a 6 out of 5.
Not allowed.
No. But yeah, I can't wait to read the other volumes or start the other volumes. But again, we've got a plan of loads of books we're going to be reviewing in the next couple of weeks. I don't know where our time's going to go, Jo. I'm working on reading, I'm working on reading. Don't have time to eat or sleep these days. But yeah, I recommend this. Loved it. Couldn't put down. And the same with the other really, but we'll get into that now. So, Jo, what's next for you?
Next for me is Second Life. This is also another thriller where a woman who's told that her sister has died and she has to go. Her sister had got a child but she hadn't, so she decided to look after the child with her husband. But her past comes back to haunt her. It says she loves her husband, she's obsessed by a stranger, she's a devoted mother, she's prepared to lose everything, she knows what she's doing, she's out of control, she's innocent, she's guilty as sin, she's living two lives. She had a drug problem. She was the one that had the drug problem. Anyway, she's got a secret that she has kept from her husband, from her life, in the hopes that nobody will ever know it, but they end up having to find out because of what happened. Her lover dies, ex-lover died, and it was long before she met her husband, and he knows nothing about this side of her life, so that when her sister dies, and she decides that her sister's definitely been murdered and she's looking into it because she wants to try and prove that her sister was murdered. She's getting herself involved in the wrong way and in the darkest part of life, really. It is brilliant, it is very twisty. When you find out who the murderer is, you're going to think, flipping heck. It is edgy, it's disturbing read by The Observer. The Daily Mail, what a formidable presence Watson has as a writer. A star is confirmed. Glamour say, taut and twisty, it'll keep you up all night, which it does. And it's packed with suspense and surprises, according to Woman and Home. It is a good read. It is gripping. It is a page turner. And it is another 5 out of 5. I'm quite surprised and quite happy about that as well, really. But while I'm on the subject, I did make a little boo-boo with disclaimer, because they are very alike. If you look at these pictures, they're very alike, aren't they? They're both walking away or walking towards.
Oh, yeah, I just realised that.
Yeah, they're very alike. Now, disclaimer, she didn't have a drug habit. No. The secret is much darker than that. And it's because the husband believes something, and then when he finds out the truth, you can understand why the marriage is over. But it is very dark, and it's also extremely good. But you can see, look, same cover almost, same cover.
Yeah, girls walking away.
Or walking to.
Looks like the back to me. I think they're walking away from. Yeah,
definitely, could be. Very good.
Okay, so my review now, I'm going to do a review on both of the books. The Day of the Triffids by John Wyndham, 1951 edition for 40p, and £8.99 for this thin book. It's about 50 pages. How long is it? 97 pages. No, it's not. Correct me. 106 pages, and that was £8.99. But again, this was 2018. I bought this version. I got this about 4 weeks ago from eBay for £3. Anyway, this was recommended to me by somebody close to me. I never ever read the book before my age of 32. I'd heard of the book, but it wasn't ever something I thought, oh, I really want to read that. But it was recommended to me because we had this thing where I'd recommend a book and they'd have to read it. And so they'd recommend a book to me and I'd have to read it. It's only fair. So I made them read Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens, and they've made me read this one, Day the Triffids by John Wyndham. So I went into it thinking, I don't know what to expect, it's a sci-fi, but I actually really liked it. It's really, really good. So I don't know if you've heard of what it's about, but basically it's a sci-fi book about Triffids, so plants, man-eating plants that like take over the world. But the protagonist, Bill Mason, it's all about his journey along the way as well. So he meets Josella, I think that's how you pronounce the name, Josella, marries her, they live on this farm, and then he gets approached to do something, and he then goes to that place to try, because he's a microbiologist or he's a biologist with chemistry, trying to come up with this what I'm trying to say, like plant killer. What's it called?
Plant killer.
Plant killer. Look weed killer, but for plants. Because you know the world is getting overrun with triffids in every country. So yeah, I really liked it. There were times when I thought this section's not really about the Triffids, it's more about his journey, but I went into the book thinking it's just going to be about the Triffids, and not every chapter's going to be about, the Triffids have done this. The Triffids, like they can walk, there's a biologist out there that goes, the Triffids can talk to each other, they can hear, and I'm like, wow, it's really fascinating. I've not watched the film, I've not even watched the radio version of this by Giles Cooper, I've not watched the TV series either, I've only read the book. I'd give it 4 out of 5 stars. Not quite 5 because I don't love sci-fi, but the last 2 sci-fi books I've read I have enjoyed. Not loved them, but I have enjoyed. But yeah, I really, really liked it. And for a story that was written in 1951, I think to still be prevalent in today's society is quite fathomable, really, isn't it? Like, you don't usually hear of that, but then again, you know, Tolkien and books that are written years and years ago are still popular today. But yeah, this one, I've never heard of it. Sorry, I've never read it before this year. Heard of it, never ever wanted to pick it up. As you can see, I love it when the book pages go brown. And it's well loved. But yeah, I really, really liked it. There were times when it was sad, and you know, you have the feeling of poignancy because it's a lot focused around human nature and family and things like that as well. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. As you can see on the cover, it's a Triffid, a man-eating plant. They can't, what is it I'm trying to say? They can't eat like dead bodies. I think they live off the liquid that they produce. So, look, when a body decomposes, the plant has that. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. The first half of the book was really, really gripping. I read it in a short space of time, and then it was just like a chapter a day then, because my work life was like really busy, so I was just telling you, I've only read another chapter today, but we got there in the end. Really enjoyed it. 4 stars out of 5 for me for this one. Now, the thinnest book I've ever read, actually no, tell a lie, this isn't the thinnest, I've read a thinner one than this. The Velveteen Rabbit's thinner than this. But yeah, this one, of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck, this is a classic. Now, everybody and their dog, especially in UK, will have read or studied this book in school. If you're doing English literature, everybody and their dog. This is a version I studied at uni. As you can see, I've highlighted parts, I've written in parts, I've underlined parts, more highlights in there. Now, I don't usually analyse books, but I had to analyse a book and had to write in books for part of my uni course, because I did English literature at GCSE, English literature at A level, and English literature at university as well. And this is always one of the books that, no matter how many times you read it, no matter how many times you analyse the book, no matter how many times you study it, you always learn something new each time. Now, my favourite character is obviously Lenny. I love Lenny. But it's really sad. You know what happens? Always give this book 5 out of 5. It's gripping. I can read this for breakfast. I read this book in about an hour. All done then. I was eating my dinner, reading a book. I had my book down like this and reading it, looking up at the TV, eating my dinner, looking at the So I was doing like 3 things at once, which because it's easy to read as well. But again, it's a classic. This book was actually banned for quite a while in the USA and the UK because of the themes that are throughout the book and the nature of the book as well. It's actually banned because when I was at uni, it wasn't long brought back from being banned. So yeah, actually no, tell a lie, because I studied this when I was 15, so just before I did my GCSEs, it wasn't long before it was brought back on the curriculum that you was allowed to study Of Mice and Men. But yeah, I'm going to give a quick read of the synopsis. If there's anybody out there watching this that's never ever heard of Mice and Men, I'm going to give you a quick synopsis. So George and his large, simple-minded friend Lenny are drifters with nothing in the world except each other and a dream. That is the American dream, and I'll explain all that in a sec. A dream that one day they will have some land of their own, somewhere to settle and live in peace. Finding work on a ranch in California's Salinas Valley, they hope to stay long enough to get some money together. But kind-hearted, childlike Lenny is prone to getting into trouble, unable to control either his emotions or his enormous strength. He is a target for the casual cruelty of others, and when disaster strikes again, it seems that this time George may not be able to save his friend. A powerful, moving story of the lonely and dispossessed of mice and men is one of John Steinbeck's best known and most popular books. So, 2 friends, George and Lenny. Lenny's simple-minded, he's really big, he's really strong. Lenny's like, not the leader of the pack, but he has to take heed with everything they do. And these guys, they want to live the American dream, but they are social misfits of the American dream. So they're trying, they're from this ranch, they're in California, they're trying to, live the American dream, which is live on a ranch, live in peace, have a homestead. But that doesn't happen because of disaster that strikes along the way. Not only with the girl, but with other things. And I don't want to give too much away because it's such a small book that no matter what I say, it's going to give away the plot. If anybody has read Of Mice and Men, read it again because it's amazing. If you've got an hour spare, read it again because you'll always learn something new. Yeah, I really loved it. I've not read any other John Steinbeck. I know he wrote like Grapes of Wrath, didn't he? And he wrote... you wrote what? Shame. Never heard of that one.
You should read.
I've only ever heard of Grapes of Wrath and Of Mice and Men, and I love this, and I do want to get the hardback version again. I believe Waterstones has got one. But yeah, I really, really love this. Unputdownable, this is a page turner. Sad. I was crying when I first read this when I was 15. Yeah, I loved it.
So next review, I'm reviewing Realmbreaker and 3. This is like fiction with facts in it. I'll explain about that when I do the review. And this is sci-fi fantasy. And it's the first of a set of books, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll be reading those. What will you be reading?
Well, later on I've got to read that one because
Yes.
we both went on a hunt for that.
Yeah.
I can't go into too much detail, but I need to read that one later in the year.
Yeah.
This one I'm not reading. I gave that to Jo along with about a million others that she just picked up. Even though I like fantasy, this isn't my type of book.
No, it isn't actually.
But yeah, the next one seems a lot different than that one. But what I'll be reading, and what I'm currently reading at the moment, is Richard Osman's The Man Who Died Twice. I keep saying reading. I'm listening to the audio book, obviously when I'm driving to and from work, or if I'm going into Birmingham. I've got something to listen to because I'm not one to listen to the radio. I don't like the radio on, but I like to have my audio books on. So I'm listening to that. I've got one more chapter left of Try by Stephen Fry, and then I'll be reviewing that as well. And if there's any other thin books that I've read for pleasure rather than for the book channel, I'll be reviewing that as well, because I don't just always want to do audiobooks, but it's because I'll have one I'll be reading and then I'll have one listening to as well, so I can have 2 or 3 books on the go at the same time.
You're so good because I can't do that.
I can just keep flicking back and forth between each, because there's been that much time elapsed. It's not like I'm picking up a book and I've got the audiobook on at the same time. I'll read a book before I go to bed, and then I'll only listen to the audiobooks when I'm driving.
Oh, right.
So I'm not thinking about them all at the same time.
Yeah.
So I can keep my mind focused on this is for that story and that's for that story. So yeah, I'll be doing Troy and Richard Osman's The Man Who Died Twice, along with perhaps one other thin book. Not too thin like Of Mice and Men, but a thinnish book that's like a novella. And then what's next after that?
Well, I'm going to be reviewing Ramp Up to Murder and Murder IRL in real life, and that'll be around sometime in a couple of months' time. I'll be reviewing those. Also,
Yes.
we are going to be reviewing
J.
J. Gill.
Series.
Yeah, they are standalone books. He doesn't refer to any of the previous murders in any of the books, so you could have them as a standalone book, but I think they're great as a set, and I think it's good if we review all 5 books. I've just got to read the 5th one, and you've got to read the other 3.
Well, I've read the first one, so in a nutshell, these are 1920s murder mystery books inspired by Agatha Christie, but not exactly the same. And we're both Agatha Christie fans anyway. So
and
that's
1920s
and
fans.
1920s fans and 1930s fans. And September, with it being Agatha Christie's birthday on the 15th of September, we're looking at doing that month as Murder Mystery Month. So Joe's read all 4 of a 5 series book so far.
Yeah.
I've only read the first one, which is Murder in Fallbridge Village. I'm about to read the second one, along with a million other books that I've got to read. So I'm only on book 2, Joe's on book 5, well about to start book 5 when she gets book 5, so that will be coming up soon.
Yeah. And we're both going to be reading Into the Water at some point over the next few weeks, months. We're both reading that, so we can, discuss that, can't we, and both do the review. And at some point, I am going to read Elizabeth is Missing.
I've read that already.
Kim gave me this, she says it's a good book, read it, but I do advise you, it is to do with somebody who has dementia, and that's still a bit raw because, as you may or may not know, Mum had Alzheimer's and passed away due to the illness. So this is I've tried to read it over the last few weeks, and I get so far and I can't carry on because it's good the way she's done it. So I am going to have another go. I'm determined to read this, and we will do a review on this. Also, she mentioned classics before
on
her mug. Well, this is a classic, Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte.
I'm glad I read that.
Kim bought me this as one of my prezzies.
For Christmas.
Yeah, and because I have read this, I read this in school. And I'm really looking forward to reading it again. It is a classic, it's a wonderful book, it's brilliant. And I know some of you like Kate Bush, and you know her song Wuthering Heights, which is based on this, and Kate Bush and Emily Bronte have the same birthday, 30th of July. It is an interesting fact, because she said she felt she was taken over by the authoress when she wrote the song. So I'm looking forward to reading that as a classic. So
what's the publisher for that one though, because it's a vintage copy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it HarperCollins? Don't you have a look? She can't see nothing without glasses on. Don't know why I'm asking her to read. Let me have a look one second. I think it's a HarperCollins.
It is HarperCollins.
No, Penguin Classics.
Well, I go to the...
and there's loads of classics out there with this kind of like vintage cover. I know Bram Stoker's Dracula is black with red foil, I believe, and then you've got like Alice's Adventure in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. There's a whole collection of classic books. And Louisa May Alcott's Little Women is really good as well. Sense and Sensibility, and Pride and Prejudice and all those. There's a whole set that...
Can't wait to start reading this.
I've never read that though. In all my... I studied English literature and I've never read it.
You will love this.
Hopefully.
You will love it. You really will.
Okay.
Also, I've got to mention this again. I have to mention this again. Cats in Space. This book is for anybody who really loves music, and I will be reviewing that at some point. I've got to mention this, I can't help myself. This is their latest album.
No, it's not. We're not an album channel. We are
a book channel. But I'm just mentioning them because it's the same band, and they're actually on tour at the moment. Well, they will be starting July the 20th and the 21st and the 22nd. They're in Bracknell, Lancaster and Hexham in that order, and then elsewhere. So you could go on their site, www.catsinspace.co.uk, and look for the book, because it'll come in handy when I do the review, and obviously any albums you want.
There you go, Cats in Space. You need a bit of commission for that.
I know. Let's hope that they agree to do an interview.
Okay, so
the thing also,
you want to show something?
I want to show you this.
I bought this for Jo as well.
Book Lover's Journal. This is brilliant because you've got everything you need. You know what books you've read, what your opinions were, what you got from it. It asks you all sorts of questions: how many pages, whether it's fiction or non-fiction, where you read it, what your thoughts were on it. It also gives you a list of books you want to read, a wish list. This is brilliant. This is. Book group info, books you've lent, books you've borrowed, where you've got them from. It's all in there, and it's brilliant. And she bought it me for another of my many prezzies. It was a birthday present, wasn't it?
Last birthday, yeah. So the Wuthering Heights was for Christmas. That was for your birthday. Yeah. I actually have one of those, but I haven't started using mine yet because I've got that many notebooks that I just use an A4 notebook at the moment. I put the title of the book, how many stars I give it, my opinion, and then a short synopsis of what the book's about. I don't actually use that yet because I don't want to. Again, I'm somebody that's trying to be like eco-conscious around paper being made and put into the world when it doesn't need to be. So I don't want to use that one yet when I've still got notebooks going.
That's fair enough. Fair enough. But I do recommend people getting a book journal, especially if you love reading, like we do.
Doesn't it?
It does. You can mark books that you want. You can do swaps. And talking of swaps,
yes,
that's what we're going to do.
Yeah. I'll go first with this one because I mentioned this in the previous video on the week back and what our plans were. So I brought a book based on not only the cover but on the hype around like Bookstagram and TikTok and things like that. And because the edges are painted with like celestial moon and stars. But after reading a lot of reviews, I actually thought, I don't actually want to read it. So I am going to swap Book of Night by Holly Black with Jo for a different book, and I don't know what Jo's going to give me yet. But Jo's read the synopsis and she thinks I will like this book, so she's going to read it first and then she'll tell me what she thinks, and if she thinks, because we know what each other will read, if she thinks that this is something that I'll read, she's going to let me know. If she thinks, Kim, stay clear, you won't like it, I don't want to waste your time, she'll let me know as well. So I'll be swapping this one for Jo. What do you think, Jo? Do you like the cover?
I love that cover. I love
so it's like a navy blue and black with a filigree pattern and the picture of the moon there and the font is all in gold foiling, and you can see it says Waterstones exclusive edition. So not every book shop will sell the edges where they're blue at the bottom or blue at the top and then painted or sprayed on the edges.
It's brilliant, and I'm really looking forward to actually having a read of that.
What have you got for me then, Jo?
Well, this is a book from my friend Pamela, who's in Wales. Hello, Pamela. And she's going to give a load of books to charity, and she said, do you want to have a dive in? She says, why don't you try this one? So it's called Two Wrongs, and it's by Rebecca Reed. It's not too heavy a book. It is like a thriller, but there's a twist to it in some respect. It's not a major heavy one where you think, oh my God, you know what's happening here, like some of the stuff that we've been reading. It is very good, and it is not exactly a psychological thriller, but it could be, if you know. I enjoyed reading it, but I'm not going to do the review on it.
No, I'll do
I want you to read it, and I want you to do the review on it.
And I want you to do the review on it. We've exchanged our books. So I've got Two Wrongs by Rebecca Reed, and you've got
Book of Night by Holly Black. So that's what we're going to do.
Good. So I can't wait to dive into this. I know what bookmark I'm going to be using. For this one.
I'm going to use this one for this because I think it goes well. This is one that Kim gave me, and this is one I've had for years. It's got my name on it. So this will go well with this, so that's what I'm going to use.
Celestial and Moth, isn't it? Yeah. So guys, we just want to thank you for watching. Keep reading and take care. Anything you want to say?
No, just look forward to speaking to you next time. Please let us know what you're reading.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye. I've got one more chapter left of Troy by Stephen King. Stephen King. It's not Stephen King.
Stephen King is Stephen Fry.